the December meeting of the Arlington Democrats. I am super excited to see so many enthusiastic activists joining us in a December meeting after such an important win. Many folks might think that we'd be taking the month off, but we're still at it because there are still fights to be fought. And where there are Democrats on the line, the Arlington Democrats will be there for them. And we will be hearing tonight about ways that we can help with a couple of races that are super important that are happening in January, as well as getting a little bit of a sneak peek as to what's going to be coming down the road in 2021, and a lot of different things in between. It's actually a chock-a-block meeting, so buckle up, folks. I'm really excited. With that, I want to welcome you not only to the December meeting. Let's see if I can do this. Can I advance the slides? I've been welcoming you for the past several months to Resisting While Social Distancing. I am so excited to be welcoming you this month to Building Back Better While Social Distancing, because we were successful in getting President-elect Biden and Kamala Harris over the finish line. Big round of applause to this group, because that was an incredible, incredible accomplishment. And we are going to be looking forward to helping the incoming administration to achieve Democratic policy priorities, which are so important to us. And it was requested by our steering committee that we try to get a little bit of a sneak peek for everybody as to how the transition is going. And I'm super excited that we're able to welcome here tonight for a little bit of a sneak peek, a member of the Biden transition team, Chris Liu, who is a former Deputy Secretary of Labor and a wonderful Arlington Democrat who has graced us before at events. And he is going to just give us that little sneak peek as to how the transition is going. So thanks for joining us, Chris, and I want to turn things over to you.
Great, thanks, Jill. It is good to see all of you virtually. First of all, thank you. Jill, can we take my photo off? This is like it's weird for me to talk and see my. I'm just teasing. Well, let me just keep going. It is, you just eliminated my face.
There you go. Aim to please.
I was hoping to see everybody else, but I'll go with this. First of all, thank you all for the great work that you did. Were it not for the people in this group, we don't carry Virginia. We don't carry a lot of the other states that I know so many of you traveled to, dialed into, texted to, wrote postcards to, contributed money for. So we're excited to be in the Biden transition right now. It was a little bit slower getting started than I think most people anticipated. If you've seen me on TV, I've talked about how in 2008, when President Obama won, we got this letter from the GSA about ascertainment within 2 hours of the race being called. It only took a couple of weeks this time around, and we learned all about the GSA and the GSA administrator and the important role that person has. But be that as it may, we're now about a month into the transition. It is firing on a bunch of different cylinders. Obviously, you've seen the personnel announcements that have come down over the last couple of weeks, and I would expect to see, a couple coming out, every week from here on out, probably accelerating over the next couple of weeks, particularly as December goes on. Obviously, there's an intensive process to figure out what the policies will be in the new Biden administration. Candidly, a lot of that, frankly, depends on what happens in Georgia and whether we're able to gain control of the Senate. So no good deed goes unpunished. So whatever you have done up to this point, do it and do it more to help us carry those 2 seats in Georgia. And then behind the scenes, there's so much planning that's going on. I am the head of the Department of Labor Agency Review Team. And to give you a sense of what that means, they are having teams span out to about 80 different federal agencies, and they are doing deep dives into policies and budgets and personnel, all with an aim of seeing how those agencies can best implement the president-elect's campaign policy proposals, as well as to prep the new nominees for their confirmation hearings. So our work should have been done about a week from now, although just given the late start, this will likely continue into December. And then we kind of quickly pivot at that point. Hopefully we have a nominee and start prepping that nominee. So this is a pretty intensive sprint right now. In terms of way, and I'm happy to take questions, but in terms of ways to help out, you may have seen some fundraising solicitations. The transition is partially funded by federal money. It is partially funded by private money. If you are inclined to give, you could certainly give. Admittedly, there are probably other ways that you can give right now. I would argue that Georgia seats may be more important at this point. So that's one thing. I know that there's a lot of people who are interested in applying for positions. The best thing to do is to go on the buildbackbetter.gov website, and there's a tab about join us, and you just simply fill it out. You attach a bio or resume and indicate the issues or agencies you are interested in working at. I would probably level set expectations for everybody. In 2008, we received 100,000 resumes on the Obama transition, which I ran, for about 4,000 political appointments. So the chances of anyone navigating this process are relatively small. That being said, we fully anticipate this will be an 8-year administration at least. So having your name in the system certainly keeps you in the mix from here on out. And you never know. You never know, on any given day what people are looking for in terms of qualifications or experience. So it's always worth a shot. So other than that, I would say just from my perspective on the inside, the transition's going well. I think you have seen from the president-elect's personnel picks a heavy premium on experience, competence, people that have done this before, low ego, people who know how to get the job done. And that really is a dramatic contrast from what we have seen over the last 4 years, where the premium for jobs was really placed on loyalty to the president. It's finally nice to have some adults back in charge and to try to gain some sense of normalcy. So with that, I'll just pause, and I don't know if there is questions or time for questions, but happy to answer anything.
Chris, it's Craig Hines. To what extent in labor and other places you are seeing, are there attempts to fill places with Ramspec and other people, tunneling in?
So what Craig is asking about is a burrowing, where you take political appointees and you move them into career positions. The rules have really been tightened up over the years, and so there is now a report that OPM does on a regular basis about people that have these political conversions, and it is a question that all teams are tasked to ask about. But there are guardrails on it to ensure that it does not happen, or to the extent it happens, there's a rigorous process. Basically, all of those at this point need to be cleared by OPM, the Office of Personnel Management.
Chris, this is Paul Ashton. I appreciate what you're saying about that, but also we are aware of the new executive order that converts significant parts of the civil service to exempted service and allows for significantly greater sort of politicization of the hiring process. And also, frankly, I don't think a lot of us trust agencies that are headed at this point by Trump appointees, such as OPM. So a confidence in institutions can carry us. Obviously, it helped us so far, but I think an overconfidence in institutional guardrails is something that I would be very cautious about.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I mean, we are 49 days away from getting a new president, but it's going to be a bumpy 49 days until we get there. I would say, and Paul's asking about an executive order that Trump signed, basically creating a whole new category of federal employees called Schedule F category. These are people of a policymaking function who can essentially be removed by political appointees. What is notable about that executive order is that it appears not to have been widely pursued, with two exceptions. One is OMB and one is OPM. And even then, there's litigation against it. And if they're able to pull this off, it's going to be like on January 19th, they'll pull it off. And I mean, it's going to be the skin of their teeth to get this done. And it could sort of be reversed the next day. So, but stay tuned. You're 100% right. I mean, we have seen parts of the government that were not politicized being very politicized over the last 4 years.
And I see a question in the chat, which is near to my heart, because we're trying to figure out what we're going to do around the inauguration. And do you have any insight as to whether there's going to be an outdoor?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. And I should also say the presidential inaugural committee has also been set up as well. They are raising money as well. It's going to be a challenge. Well, I neither know what's going to happen with the swearing in, the parades, the balls. I mean, I think it's going to be different. I think it's really going to be a much, much smaller ceremony.
Understood.
Chris, this is Margot Horner. I wanted to ask you, the president-elect Biden has been making some appointments to cabinet positions, and I've heard some chatter about some of the Senate appointments are not agreeable to some of the senators. Is this the likely kind of process we're going to go through where they will kind of nitpick certain ones, or what?
Margot, honestly, I'm not sure anybody knows. I mean, the last time we had a newly elected president facing a party, a Senate controlled by another party, was 1989 with George H.W. Bush, and virtually every one of his nominees got through on a unanimous vote. So the U.S. Senate has changed a lot in 30 years. So I'm not confident we'll be in that situation. But even if you go back and look at Trump's nominees, I mean, there were these Scott Pruitts of the world who are confirmed on more or less party line votes, but a lot of other people, Sonny Perdue, Wilbur Ross, Elaine Chao, were confirmed by pretty large margins. And so there is the theory that the president gets deference on his cabinet picks. But, again, a lot of the norms have gone out the window. And even if that deference is given for the cabinet, it's not clear what happens to the picks one level below that.
Thank you.
Again, it highlights the importance of trying to win those 2 seats in Georgia.
And we're going to be hearing more about that later in our presentation. I do want to keep us moving along. Thank you so much, Chris,
Absolutely,
for coming and joining and giving us that inside scoop. We really appreciate it. Thanks for all the good work that you're doing, and we're looking forward to more announcements.
Absolutely.
All right. Moving right along, as everyone who has been to a meeting before knows, we are very much action-oriented here at the Arlington Democrats. And so our action tonight is a social media call to action. There may be a second one later, a second action call tonight, but this one is focused on those all-important Georgia runoff elections. We're going to be hearing more about this later from our Beyond Arlington team, but the long story short is that if you want to see Democratic policy priorities enacted, if that's why you got behind Joe Biden, then you need to help with the Georgia runoff elections. President-elect Biden needs a Democratic-controlled Senate. We can get that for him, for us, if we win the 2 Georgia runoff elections that are happening in January. And so fortunately, we have lots of ways to engage. And so if you go to our Facebook page, you'll find the first way to engage. If you go to our Facebook page, you will see at the top, pinned to it is a post that looks something like what you're seeing on the screen right here. What we ask, which we always ask at these meetings, is that you find this post, open your browser, open your phone, find it at Arlington Dems on Facebook, and hit share or like so that people in your network can hear about the fact that there's a runoff, the fact that Joe Biden needs Democrats' help to win the Senate in January, and the fact that there are lots of volunteer opportunities available for Arlingtonians. So if you could please share it or like it, that is very helpful in terms of getting the word out for us within your networks. Little note, a personal note at the top saying, hey, join me for this event, or join me in electing Democrats in Georgia in January, something like that would be terrific and will be very helpful in terms of being able to make the progress that we want to see in the country and the win that we need to see in Georgia to get there. So thank you folks for that, for participating in that call to action. And as I suggested, you might be asked to do an additional call later, but I do want to keep us moving along in our agenda. I'm going to push us to a voting item. I will confess that I did alter the order of our agenda items a little bit in order to accommodate some speaker schedules. So we're taking the voting item out of order. But I'm delighted that this month's voting item is the election and appointment of some additional folks to the committee. We are always, always, always looking to engage new people and to get them into leadership positions within the party that carry votes, which sometimes are very important. This month, we have a number of appointments and precinct captain elections. So they are listed on the screen. We have our first joint campaign co-chair appointment, which is our Commonwealth Attorney, Parissa Tafty. We're also very excited that Rose Fabia who you'll be hearing from later today, is coming in and taking over as our Beyond Arlington chair. Steve Baker is stepping down after 4 incredible years as our Beyond Arlington chair. He deserves so many applause, so much kudos for the amount of work that we were able to put towards races beyond Arlington. Fear not, he will remain with the committee. He is one of our representatives to the 8th Congressional District, and we will find other ways to employ his many talents, but really excited for his next chapter, and also to be welcoming Rose to the head of our Beyond Arlington team, and you'll be hearing from her a bit later. We're also excited that Jesse Aronson is stepping up as our technology vice chair. He's been working really hard on our website for over a year, and so that is terrific to have him as a vice chair now. And then we're excited also to welcome 2 area chairs within Precinct Ops, David Van Wagner and Sarah Lanford, who have been volunteering with us at the precinct captain level for quite a while, and excited to bring them into the leadership team on steering. And then finally, we have 2 precinct captain elections that we're looking to take care of. In Wilson Precinct, Jasmine Latney, and in Abingdon Precinct, Jay Singh. Thank you all. What I am looking for now is a motion to elect and appoint these great Democrats to the committee.
So moved.
Second. All right, that motion has been properly seconded. So I would ask that if you could please go to the participant tab in your Zoom control and look for, at the bottom left-hand corner, the little green yes circle. Click that. And if you are in favor of the motion, and we will see if it passes. And as always, I'm asking Maggie, our wonderful deputy chair, to help me out here to see if that motion passes. And you got to click for it to pass. So there's a lot of folks on the line tonight. Bravo.
Yeah.
All right, that looks like it passes if I'm looking.
Yes, that passes.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much for that, folks. Okay, moving right along. We are going to move on to our 2020 election data analysis. We're excited that our friend from the technology team, John Chandler, is going to be stepping in to provide us an overview of some of the statistics from turnout in 2020. And I'm going to turn things over to John. I saw him. Is he on mute?
You said technology and then I didn't unmute myself. If you could click ahead, you're going to click ahead for me, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. I want to start out tonight by taking a moment to remember Carrie Johnson. Carrie was the longtime data director for the Arlington Democrats, and one of the highlights of our December meetings were when Carrie would give her analysis of the past election, and she knew data in Arlington better than anyone, and really set the standard for what it is to do this type of thing. So, thank you, Carrie, and just wanted to acknowledge Carrie. And this is Carrie presenting in December of 2017 at our December meeting. So, all right, we did it, Jill. I'm going to go fast. I like this picture. We won. Woohoo! This is a long time coming. We all feel really good about this. Congratulations to Christina, David, and Libby, and also to Congressman Beyer and Senator Warner. This election, we're going to focus on this presentation. We're going to focus mainly on big turnout trends, and why it's going to be a little bit different is the absentee vote. Typically, we can break down the vote by precinct and really dig into which precinct voted for who. But it's a different year, and we'll go into it. So next slide, please. Overall, turnout in Arlington is trending up. The population of Arlington continues to grow, and the number of votes that we contribute to the state continues to grow. This year was no exception. We increased the total votes in Arlington, and we're also becoming more democratic. This was one of the highest democratic turnout elections that we've ever had. Trump got a few more votes in Arlington than he did last time, but we increased that margin. There was no third-party candidate, and people that did write-ins didn't do write-ins nearly as much as they did in previous elections. So we were able to achieve that higher number. We didn't reach the 90% turnout goal that we had hoped, but there's some other stuff going on here. We should be really proud of this total vote number, and this total vote number is going to be incredibly important in elections to come when we have statewide races, which come up every year. All right, next slide, please. When I started looking at this and looking at big trends, one of the trends I noticed is we're becoming more democratic. And once we hit this Trump era, federal level and state level Republican candidates in Arlington, they hit this high water mark. You know, if you go back prior to 2014, Republicans could get 27%, you know, of the vote in Arlington. Trump comes into office, and that starts to stop. And so, you know, these last 4 years, Republicans have really struggled to get a decent percentage of votes. I mean, the only person more disagreeable to Arlington than Donald Trump is Corey Stewart. And that's, you know, I mean, they're setting the bar pretty low, and whatever that means. But, you know, hopefully Arlington will keep up with these high Democratic turnout numbers. Next slide, please. Turnout in presidential years, you know, it's always high. This year, the active registered voter number, and all these numbers are based on active voters. That was one thing that I learned early on in this. You don't look at total, you only look at active. So all these numbers are based off of active. We had huge turnout. We had 131,516 people vote, and we had a large number of active registered. So I'm okay with that 79% of active registered. The big number here is the 82%. 82% of people that voted in this election voted absentee. So this is the year. Next slide. This is a year of absentee voting. We had two things that happened. We had no excuse absentee voting, and we had a pandemic. Statewide on election day, statewide absentee, Biden just did absolutely huge. You know, he took 64% of the absentee vote, you know, and Trump, you know, got 33. When you look at the map on this next slide, it's really striking to see where the absentee vote fell, and even the absentee vote in that southern end of Virginia, which has just become redder and redder over the years. There's a great thing on VPAP. If anyone's interested, they should check it out. But Biden really carried the absentee vote. If you look at election day, next slide, Trump carried election day statewide. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, he told his people not to vote and not to vote absentee, and they didn't, and they showed up on election day. Next slide. Election day statewide was a significantly different picture. Just, you know, comparing these two maps, it's a massive change of who showed up on election day. You can see a couple of nice blue spots poking out in this map. They should take Alexandria off and put Arlington up there, and then you can see us a little bit better. But, you know, we were blue on election day. Next slide. And these are the final numbers statewide. Next slide. The absentee vote in Arlington, I would have never guessed we would have reached 108,000 people voting absentee. It's just an absolutely huge number, and 57% of those people showed up in person to vote. The other 43% of people voted absentee by mail. On a normal, a normal year, our last presidential election, we had 31% absentee vote. Granted, we didn't have a pandemic and we didn't have no excuse absentee voting. Absentee voting is here to stay in Arlington, and it's going to help us turn out votes statewide in these important elections. Next slide, please. So let's look at Arlington real quick. I should have used a smaller font for this number. I mean, this is how many people voted on election day in Arlington. If anyone here was working the polls, they'll tell you how quiet it was. There was not much going on. We had this conversation leading up to election day about how many sample ballots were we going to need. And I don't think we ran out of sample ballots. I'll tell you that. This number was it was small, but it was still good because we had great absentee turnout. Next slide, please. Madison and Rock Spring. I don't know what to do with Madison and Rock Spring. The only two precincts in Arlington that messed up this map and put some red on it. If you look, Campbell, reliably, solid Dem precinct, but we've got some work to do. We've got some work to do up there. This isn't shocking. This is how it plays out every year. That tends to be those tend to be two of the most Republican leaning precincts. Next slide, please. The total votes on election day. This is who actually showed up. Where was the concentration of people that showed up on election day? Campbell, Wakefield, and Met Park were our big election day voting spots where we had the most turnout on election day. Next slide, please. This is where we canvassed. We were pretty selective in joint campaign. Alex Zinn's turf team, Scott McConnell, and everyone else put so much effort into canvassing this year. The joint campaign was pretty much the coordinated campaign and did a great job of getting people out. Alex was watching the numbers as they were coming in, and we were tracking the absentee vote, and we were looking for precincts that were underperforming, and those were underperforming, and also places that we could canvass. Some of these, if you look on the corridors, there's these gaps where we didn't canvass. It's because they're tall apartment buildings and we just aren't able to get into those. So these were the priority precincts that we canvassed in this election. Next slide, please. And if you look at the total turnout percentage for these precincts, if I knew how to do some sort of overlay, I would do an overlay, but you can see up north of Lee Highway, we had upwards of 80%, and we didn't spend a lot of time. We didn't spend time canvassing up. We didn't spend as much time canvassing up there. We still did some messenger and other things, but our focus was voter turnout and getting to the right precincts that needed the support. And that's where we spent our time. And even though we didn't get to the 90% number, these numbers are higher because of the efforts of people that were out there working hard to get people to vote. Next slide. The top 5 precincts by voter turnout. These are familiar names on the list for people that have been around for a while. They continue to be our highest turnout precincts. Next up. New voters. We had some, this is interesting to me. Next slide, Jill. We had 16,567 people register to vote in the last 12 months and come into Arlington as voters. By election day, 72% of those people that had registered in the last 12 months had voted. And I bet this number, and we'll know once the numbers are in van in February, we're going to be able to do a more in-depth analysis. I bet the number is going to be higher than 72%. On any given year, when I've looked at it in the past, about 75% of people that register to vote in that year leading up to the election will vote in that next election. So it's a really active group of voters. So these people that came into Arlington participated in the election, and we're very happy to see that. I think that's my last slide. So thank you all, and I will. Oh, and here's a map. Excuse me. Here's a map of where people came into Arlington. We know that the Orange Line and the Crystal City, Pentagon City corridors have high turnover in those apartment buildings, and these are where those newer voters came in. Park Lane is the especially dark precinct. It's more like a double precinct, so it throws the map off just because the sheer number of people that are in that precinct. But this is where those voters came from. The newer voters did skew younger. There was a significant weight to the younger end of the distribution for the newer voters that came into Arlington. So overall, it was a great election in Arlington, and we're happy to see Trump out of office and look forward to his campaign office moving out of Arlington.
Hey, John, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm actually keying off of a Craig comment here. He's suggesting if you put the absentee vote back into Madison and Rock Spring, let's talk. So were the ones you showed with the red tinge, was that just election day for
That's just election day. One of the challenges here is that we're not going to be able to put the
Oh, right.
we can't put the absentee vote back in.
That's right.
Because we know who voted, but we can only use the overall absentee percentage.
They don't do it per precinct.
No, and so we
Well,
could
they
make
do,
those
John,
assumptions.
excuse me, this is Paul. They do this in about December or January. The state will present something called the Those Who Have Voted list. Kerry always used to use that for a secondary analysis that took the absentees and plugged them back into the precincts. So we will know this eventually. And I think, by the way, I would push the state, now that we're in a situation we have more absentees, that they need to do this faster.
We actually already included the who voted.
No,
in
that
here.
was just
But I
Kerry's
can't-
name for it.
Yeah, I understand that. We included the people that voted absentee in the overall turnout map. What doesn't get released is I'm pretty sure it doesn't get released is the breakdown of how they voted when they get put back into the precinct.
Yes, it does. We always had that precinct by precinct as of January.
Okay.
But you can't associate the person with their vote, so
Exactly,
it's
it's a
not
secret
something you can
ballot.
do.
I don't know how they would possibly do it with a secret ballot.
No,
But
I was
we'll see.
talking about this with when I was doing the poll.
No,
work, and
it's
not
turnout
possible.
only, not
We
necessarily.
already have that.
We have that.
We have that right now.
Wait, but I thought it was just election day.
No,
No.
no, we have it by precinct, and I have a spreadsheet, and I can send you with everything.
Was it on here?
Yep. Go.
Yes.
Wait, the one that showed the red tinge, no, back
No,
to.
that was just election day.
That's just
Arlington.
election
Well, that
day.
was just election day. That's what I mean.
Yeah, election day is different because election day we
think
get
it's in here,
we get the
but-
precinct breakdown by how each precinct went.
Right.
It doesn't get applied back. This is the total turnout up one. This is the total turnout percentage by precinct, including absentee and election day. I mean, it's all and this is percentages. I try and keep red off my maps whenever possible.
Right, but the other one, it does have the red tinge,
That's just
That's
election day.
election day.
just election day.
And I also want to thank Matt Zakalik for helping do these maps because I have
Now, in the past, when the absentee was relatively low, you could do some inferences about how those people voted,
Mhm.
which was not precise, but was pretty close. Now, with the overwhelming numbers of absentee, you just can't do that.
Correct.
Here's my inference. In 16, Donald Trump did not carry any precinct in Arlington.
He's
Let's
still-
bet that happened
And
again.
he didn't carry any precinct this year either. I want to be clear about that. There's no chance he carried any precinct. It's just, election day.
We
I
have
don't want any red.
Except on election day, right, John?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. We don't want it
Nowhere.
anywhere. So
Nowhere.
we're
I understand, but this year,
Yes.
Yeah.
just on election day.
just on election day, which is fine. He did it around the state, so that's fine.
Any other questions before I think we're going to move on and
Yeah.
try and keep this going.
Great, thanks, John.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Really appreciate it. That's really interesting. So yeah, it is definitely a new age where it's going to challenge our ability to analyze the data to understand percent Democratic turnout by precinct. But we will figure out different ways to overcome that, and certainly we'll be paying attention at a county level, which is where we of course did very well. I want to turn us to our second flash challenge as previewed. Folks, all of that winning costs money. So I want to encourage you to take a moment, since you're in front of your screen, to confirm whether you are in fact a member of the Arlington Democrats Roosevelt-Obama Society. This is our sustaining donors program where folks give, $5, $10, $100 a month, whatever they could afford to help us keep the lights on, to help us print literature, help us register voters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Pay for our tech, call people in Georgia, things like that. What our incredible finance and tech team have done is they've put together a spreadsheet that you can access by going to bit.ly/ROS check. And that's got a spreadsheet of our wonderful sustaining members who I want to thank. And it lists them by their amount of donation. This is information that is all publicly available on the websites that the state runs for identifying political donations. So we're not giving away any private information here, but you can go to that website, to that bit.ly link, and check to see if in fact you are a member of the Roosevelt-Obama Society. Some people have fallen off because their credit cards have expired. Why not take a minute to get yourself back on if you fall into that group? You can do so by going to our donations page, which is arlingtondemocrats.org/donate, and just sign yourself back up. And if you're feeling especially generous, if you are so inspired by our Democratic turnout maps, why not add $5 a month to your sustaining membership? If you'd like to do that, please email our finance chair, Liz Morgan, at finance@arlingtondemocrats.org. We'd greatly appreciate any amount of funds that you're able to provide as we end the year and are hoping to end the year in the black. So thank you very much for participating in this second challenge. Again, you have that link there, bit.ly/ROS check. And you can take it from there. So thank you guys so much for everything that you do to support our committee. We really appreciate it. And the more that you do helps us to support candidates into the future. And we are looking forward, as always, to the next election here in Virginia. And in 2021, we have a number of very exciting races that are already lining up. We have several statewide elections, as well as some House of Delegates elections and local races. And so we are going to be hearing from 3 candidates in 3 different races tonight. As is our tradition, we take the candidates in the order that they would appear on the ballot. And we give them 3 minutes to give you a little bit of an intro to themselves and to give you their pitch as to why you should join their campaign. So first up tonight, we're very excited to be joined by gubernatorial candidate Jennifer Carroll Foy, who is currently a delegate in the House of Delegates, and I want to turn things over to her. Delegate Carroll Foy, are you on the line?
I am here and on the line. Thank you so much, Jill. It's a pleasure and honor to be with you guys. And so I have to go ahead and get started because I heard I got 3 minutes hard stop.
And I mean, so.
All right. Well, everyone, I am Delegate Jennifer Carroll Foy, and I know many of you know me as I know you. I was a public defender in Arlington, and you all are the reason that we were able to get the majority. So I want to tell you thank you for all of your hard work. But never did I imagine that I would be launching my gubernatorial race in the midst of a global pandemic. But COVID-19 has exposed what was already beneath the surface, that too many Virginians can't earn a decent paycheck, afford their medical bills, or get ahead. And that's because the status quo just isn't working. So I intimately understand the challenges that Virginia families face because I live them. As a working mom with 2 jobs, taking care of 2 3-year-olds, my husband and I pay a second mortgage every month called childcare while straddled with student loan debt. And so if we're going to move Virginia into the 21st century, we can't keep recycling the same old politicians and policies. We need a new leader with a clear vision and fresh ideas on how to get things done. So my journey to become governor did not start recently. It started a long time ago. Growing up in Petersburg, Virginia, with one of the highest child poverty rates of unaccredited schools, and named one of the most dangerous places to live per capita in Virginia. And that's where I'm from. But luckily I was raised by my grandmother, Mary Lee, who had me in church 3 days a week and taught me those values that if I have it, then I have to give it. And I learned from that. And I learned watching her after she had a stroke and became a quadriplegic. And I learned from having to sit at a dining room table with my aunt, trying to decide if we're going to pay for our mortgage that month or for the medications keeping her alive. That's why I'm in this race. Because I was a part of one of those communities that have been left behind. And when I travel to Danville and Pulaski and Portsmouth, I see those people. Because housing and healthcare has gone up while wages are stagnant. And while Virginia is doing well, it's not doing well for all of us. And we need someone who's going to be a champion for all Virginians, to ensure that no community is left behind. And since I've been delegate, I've gotten to work, passing the Equal Rights Amendment for women's equality, helping veterans open small businesses, investing millions of dollars into job skills training and workforce development, and helping to expand broadband. And as governor, I will keep up that same energy and do that same work, bringing diverse, high-paying jobs to every corner of the Commonwealth, continuing to end the digital divide here in the Commonwealth, and investing in early childhood education, teachers, and our children. So now is our time. Change cannot wait. We have to move forward. In order to do that, we need new leadership who understands the challenges that Virginia families face. So this is it. Again, the status quo isn't working. And I am here to give it my all to be the best governor that Virginia has ever seen. And I am willing to stand with all of you. And the question is, are you willing to stand with me?
That puts us right at time.
Oh, I knew it.
I'm always appreciative when I don't have to use the hook. So thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming by. Folks, if you like what you heard, please check out her website and get involved. And we will be welcoming other gubernatorial candidates who would like to come speak with us at future meetings. So thank you very much for stopping by, Delegate Carol Foy.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Moving right along, we have our next candidate announcement, which is for the Lieutenant Governor position. And I believe another delegate has joined us, Delegate Sam Rasool. I think I saw him come on.
Yes.
Delegate Rasool, would you like to tell us why we should be interested in joining your campaign? And as a reminder, you do have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, Arlington Democrats. Most certainly a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Jill, for being this momentous win and turning a chapter. We see that there is always some more work to do. I personally am going into my 8th year in the General Assembly, have been in the minority when we were 32, 33, and now being 55, seeing that there is some great work that we can accomplish. Look, for me as a religious and ethnic minority growing up here in Western Virginia, I had to do everything by building coalitions. And I've loved being able to do that for sure. And I had to give it a lot of thought into running for Lieutenant Governor. And there were really 2 big pieces to that. Number one, from a policy perspective, we've been advancing policy. This year, I had a bill around socio-emotional development and putting that curriculum into our education system. The Safe Drinking Water Act passed this year, but also on the advocacy side, pushing back against Dominion and some of the terrible effects there, pushing back against the pipelines after we've defeated one and hopefully defeating another. And then advocating for a Green New Deal where we're talking about intersectional justice that is so important to all of us. Look, on the left, it's got to be about building coalitions. The politics of unity have changed, and we've got to be able to raise up so many voices as we move forward. And so I thought about, as we move forward, how would I run this campaign? And it came back to the 3 family values. I raised my children with these values of always tell the truth, always be kind, and never give up. And that truth, love, and grit means we're developing a first of its kind people's platform where we're crowdsourcing great ideas from all across the Commonwealth, where we are connecting voters with government services that they need, especially during this tough time in the pandemic, and what we call Virginia Grit, where I'm physically visiting every city and county in a safe way to carry these stories all the way across Virginia, but doing it in a truly momentous way to become the first candidate to win statewide with a campaign 100% solely funded only by individuals. And I will tell you that we've had over 900 contributors just here in the first 3 weeks of our campaign. We've been able to see so many people step up. I believe deeply in this quote by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. So I hope you will help us and try to advance this different philosophy as we try to change the way we think about and approach summer politics. And I look forward to being able to work with you as I've done in my 4 terms in the General Assembly, but hopefully in this new capacity as Lieutenant Governor.
Very well done. Thank you. You're on time. I appreciate it. So folks, if you are interested in what you heard, please check out Delegate Russell's website, which I'm sure will be put into the chat, and get involved. And as with the other race, we'll be looking forward to welcoming any candidate who is interested in speaking with us at future meetings. Delegate Russell, thank you so much for stopping by and joining with us today.
Thank you, Jill. Appreciate you all having me.
Absolutely. And so we're going to move on to our 3rd and final candidate announcement of the night. This is for a House of Delegates seat in District 49, which represents a portion of South Arlington. We're delighted to be welcoming here tonight our candidate in that race, Karishma Mehta. Hopefully I pronounced that right, Karishma. Correct me if I did not. And I think you're on the line.
You did pronounce that correctly. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karishma Mehta. I am a preschool teacher and community organizer in Arlington, Virginia, fighting for tenant and migrant justice here in Virginia. I grew up in a working class family. My parents moved here from India in the 80s, struggled as small business owners, and struggled to pay rent, to afford healthcare. And as we grew up, I saw how hard it was for them to provide a quality, dignified life for our family. I inherited those problems as a young college graduate student from George Washington University. I was saddled with enormous student debt, struggled myself to pay rent in the DC area, and to put food on the table as I struggled to become a teacher. This struggle is not unique to me. As a 6th-year Arlingtonian, I have come across many families that have experienced those same struggles, especially in House District 49. Seeing the passage of the Equal Rights Amendment last year in Virginia, watching strong Democratic women run, especially Black and Brown women, run for office on courageous policy platforms has inspired me to run for office and to take this step forward for our state. As a state delegate for Congressional District 8 this summer, I worked very closely with the Arlington Dems Resolutions Committee to pass one of the most progressive resolutions packages for the convention. I was proud to author the Universal Pre-K resolution and to reintroduce the Medicare for All resolution, working with Elizabeth Warren and now President-elect Joe Biden delegates, working together as a coalition to support a policy currently supported by our own Congressman Don Beyer in the House of Representatives. We have started building that grassroots coalition here. And so as my priorities moving forward, I would love to see an expansion of Medicare for all Virginians, reproductive justice and Planned Parenthood access, safe, fully funded public schools, and with a passage of universal pre-K across Virginia. I see a lot of people talking about childcare and expensive infant care. I 100% hear that struggle. And holding corporate monopolies accountable to our taxpayers and our small business owners. Change is really, really hard, but it takes place with a movement, not just one person, a movement of compassionate people working together. And so this is not just about one election cycle, but a commitment to that long-term vision rooted in mutual aid for one another, direct action, and political education towards policies that work to build a Virginia that works for all of us. I'm so proud of what we're accomplishing here. I'm so grateful to be here with everyone tonight. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that vision with you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Folks, again, if you like what you heard, I am sure that this candidate's website will appear in the chat at any moment. Please get involved if this candidate is of interest to you. We will be welcoming additional candidates for this race and for any other race at the House of Delegates level or the local level at future monthly meetings. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all the candidates. It is super, super hard to run for office. And so for anyone who throws their hat into the ring, thank you. We all benefit from the exchange of ideas. So we'll be hearing from additional candidates at future meetings, but I do want to keep us moving on in our agenda. And our next up, we are going to get into some of our volunteer opportunities. And I want to turn things over to our newly appointed Beyond Arlington Chair, Rose Fabia, to let us know how we can get involved in the all-important Georgia runoff elections. Rose?
Yes. First of all, I just want to say that I have been phone banking for the past 3 weeks and getting to know both campaigns, both Warnock and Ossoff, and doing a little bit of stuff for Fair Fight with texting. And I have to tell you, it's coming along really well. I pitched to the Ossoff campaign that Beyond Arlington hosts phone banking, and they said yes. And so last Monday was our first day, our first event for Beyond Arlington. And the advantage of hosting under the Ossoff campaign is that it's nationwide. It is advertised nationwide. And to prove it, we had volunteers from Connecticut, California, Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Kalamazoo, Michigan. And they're actually returning. About 5 of them are returning. We must have did a good job because they're returning for Thursday. And I'm having a great time. I think that if it goes really well, we'll add more days to it. Not just Monday and Thursdays, but maybe we'll do, we want to avoid Wednesdays so we don't conflict with your meetings, but maybe Tuesdays and Fridays. But we'll have to see. And I would love everyone to join me on and be part of my Beyond Arlington. Or if not, share the page with your friends. So it ends up with it turns up in your news feed. The other thing I want to say is that I'm also involved as one of the super volunteers for the curing the ballots. And so if anyone is interested in joining our team, please let me know. We're doing some wonderful things. This past week, we have been calling over 1,000 people of experienced canvassers and asking them, since they canvassed during the general election, please canvass for the Senate runoff. And I have to tell you, 80% of the time, I get a yes. And they thank me for calling them. And so to get a sense of why this is so significant, in Georgia, Joe Biden won by 12,000 votes. When they calculated all the people that they cured the ballots, whether it was correcting them for absentee or whether it was for voter registration and everything else that had, issues, it was 14,000 ballots that went through that got counted. So it was pretty significant for the Biden victory. And most of them were from people of color, from low income areas that just didn't know what was going on with their ballot, and that outreach was there. So please, if you're interested in joining that also, let me know and I can get you involved in that. There's calling the voters and then calling the volunteers. And so I think that's about it. There's also Fair Fight. They're doing their texting if you want to go with them. We have it all advertised in Arlington Dems on what's the website, Jill? It's called
I actually created a slide just to make sure everybody had it.
Election volunteering.
Yep. So if you'd like to participate in the terrific phone banking that Rose has set up, the Mobilize link is here. And we do make these slides available. We always make our monthly meeting slides available after the meeting, so you'll be able to go directly to these slides as soon as the meeting's over, and we'll get them up and you can click on that link. But if you want to go now, go to our website, arlingtondemocrats.org/election-volunteering. You will see not only that Mobilize link that Rose mentioned, but all of the different events that we've been able to identify through Mobilize will flow onto that page and you can pick them out. Most of them are phone banking that you can do from your home. There are some in-person activities that are happening directly in Georgia. And what I would strongly suggest is, why don't you sign up for that on that Mobilize link, join Rose for a phone bank, and at that phone bank training, she can let you know about those in-person opportunities. I do want to emphasize that all of the in-person opportunities absolutely are observing appropriate public safety measures. So we definitely don't want anybody to be sick, but as we demonstrated here in Arlington, you can canvass at an appropriate social distance and it can be done. So that is what's happening in Georgia through the campaigns. As always with Beyond Arlington, we do not create our own events and sort of frog march into these jurisdictions where we don't live. We always work with a campaign on the ground. Mm-hmm. This time we are working with the Ossoff campaign, as Rose mentioned. But we are, to be clear, phone banking for both candidates. So both Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff, we're supporting. So please, folks, this is the most important thing you can do for Democrats this month, is to support these great candidates in the Georgia runoff races so that we can help get the Biden agenda through.
I just want to add one more thing. When you do the Ossoff or the Warnock, you're in both scripts, you're asking people to support both candidates. Yeah. And one more thing for this week, for the scripts, what we're doing, we're calling people who requested their absentee, and we're saying, we understand you received your absentee because the record's there. Please, please, please fill it out as soon as possible and drop it in a drop box, and let me help you and tell you where that drop box location is. That's our script for this week.
Yep. And so anybody who joins the phone bank, if you've never phone banked before, fear not. There is a 30-minute training that starts at the beginning of shifts if you need it. And it really is very easy to do from home. Rose is a true expert. She will help you every step of the way. So please sign up to join the Beyond Arlington phone bank for Georgia, and to connect with Rose to learn more about opportunities to support those absolutely critical races.
And Alex Dinser is my co-host, and I couldn't have done it without her. She's
Absolutely,
terrific.
from the tech team, as always, the backbone of the party, our tech team. Well, thank you so much, Rose. Thanks, Alex. Thanks to everyone who's been already making phone calls or writing postcards into Georgia, which I'm sure we're going to hear about in a little bit. It is greatly appreciated. Let's keep up the pressure, keep up the good work to get us to January and a victory in these important races. I want to keep us moving along to our outreach update. So for those who are new to the party or new to the monthly meetings, outreach is our group that is active year round, making sure that we are present in the community, present in the moment. It is ably led by Mike Heminger. And I'm going to turn things over to him to let you know what is happening in outreach this month. It's a lot. Big Mike.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Jill. And Rose, thank you for all you're doing. You're a real inspiration. Keep up the great work. I'm going to try to get some of the outreach teams on a phone bank before it's over. So mark my words. All right, a lot of things happening in outreach. First and foremost, we are doing some inaugural planning. We had a call this week with about 15 people on it. So thanks to all those that joined that. And of course, like Jill mentioned, safety is at the forefront of everything that we're doing. So we're really just exploring ideas and brainstorming on ways that we could be part of this historic election. So the first idea that we're really working on is an inaugural ball. So, get your nice dress clothes ready or not. We're gonna have two different themes possibly. And then secondly, if possible, we are thinking about doing some type of drive-in. So still in the formation phase of that, but stay tuned, lots of exciting things happening with that. Next slide, please. Thanks, Jill. Yeah, and it would be a virtual inaugural ball. Great clarification. All right, off to farmers markets. Just a heads up that the season's pretty much over for us. So we'll be in what's called a hiatus for the winter. We'll start right back up in the spring. I did want to take a quick moment to celebrate some of our extraordinary volunteers, Jack Kincaid, Jean Christensen, and Jill Birdwestell. All three of them have really been a phenomenal asset, not only to outreach, but to the entire county party. They've been doing this for years. When I jumped in and tried to try to help out with outreach, they were already fully engaged. They were a self-sufficient team. And so I can't thank them enough. They've done an incredible job. In spite of the pandemic, they were able to innovate and find ways to still have a presence while staying safe. So Jack, Jean, and Jill, thank you so very much for all that you've done. That does create a couple openings in farmers markets. So if that's something that you're interested in, please reach out to me. You can send me an email, outreach@arlingtondemocrats.org. Next slide, please. All right, caucus update. So because of the pandemic, caucuses in our party have really taken off. What we've seen is that people are really craving a sense of community. And so we have about 10 caucuses that have launched. Many of them meet every week. Some of them meet every other week, and some meet on a monthly basis. If you're looking for something to do, Arlington Democrats, I know you got a lot of time on your hand. First, we're gonna focus on that Georgia runoff, but secondarily, feel free to join one of these caucuses. These caucuses are open to everyone and anyone. So please, again, feel free to join us. Go to the next slide, please. Got a special announcement. We have a new caucus that just launched. It's the Equality Caucus. I love the rainbow letters there. We got the diversity colors, the trans colors on there as well. So if this is a caucus that you're interested in, please reach out to Jonathan Dromgoole. And he may not know this, but we did set up an email about 5 minutes ago. That's how awesome the technology team is. You can send an email to equality@arlingtondemocrats.org. Really looking forward to this caucus getting off the ground. I know that they're going to be up to some exciting stuff next year and the years to come. Next slide, please. All right, Blue Families, next slide. As always, Josh, I don't know how you do it, but 40,000 postcards are being written to Georgia voters. If you are done with the current postcards, and of course, I know you still want to write, we're going to be writing postcards for Vote Forward, or letters for Vote Forward very shortly, so stay tuned. If you are interested in traveling down to Georgia or knocking on doors, there's going to be some links on our Facebook page. We'll try to get these up on the website as well. And then you can click on the link from this deck. So lots going on as always. Josh, thank you for all you're doing with Blue Families. Next slide, please. All right, Labor Caucus. You can head over to the next slide. You can reach them by emailing businessandlabor@arlingtondemocrats.org. They do meet every Thursday at 6 p.m. They are up to a lot of stuff. And Keith, thank you for all you're doing. Currently, they're working on supporting janitors, organizing some allegations that are happening with GMU and their new campus that they're building here in Arlington. So very engaged in those conversations. They are supporting county and school employee organizing, getting ready for the general session that's going to be happening next month, folks. Can you believe it? Next month. So again, if you're interested, Thursdays at 6 p.m. It's a great group. You'll have a lot of fun, learn a lot, and you'll get some really good work done. Next slide, please. All right, off to business. So as always, the Business Caucus is focused fully and entirely on small businesses. So that's kind of how they're kicking off the holiday season. Let's see, on December 7th, they're going to be doing at 7 p.m. protecting small businesses during COVID with Our Revolution. So that's on Monday, I believe. We are co-sponsoring that event with the NAACP in Arlington as well. It will be a good event, so you don't want to miss that. On December 8th, there will be a planning meeting. So if you want to get more involved and you want to figure out how we can bring small businesses back to life here in Arlington and Virginia, I'd encourage you to join that meeting. If you want, if you have more questions or would like more information on business and labor, again, feel free to email businessandlabor@arlingtondemocrats.org. Next slide, please. All right, AAPI Caucus, their next meeting is going to be on 12/20 at 2:30 p.m. We can head over to the next slide. You can reach them, AAPI Caucus at arlingtondemocrats.org. Just like the rest of the teams, the AAPI Caucus is fully focused on the Georgia Senate runoff. And they're working in conjunction with South Asians for Biden. Some postcards are going to be expected headed out to Georgia soon, so stay tuned. Phone banking, and then just a quick announcement with the leadership. Annie Yoon is going to be moving back to Seattle to be closer to her family. So we are looking for someone to step into a leadership role with the AAPI Caucus. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to Sangeeta Rao, Angela, Kim, or myself. And we'll get you in touch with what you need to do. Just want to take a quick moment to thank Annie for all the good work that you've done. I was on a phone call with her and I think, yeah, Angela last week. It wasn't an easy decision, but we got to keep our family close. So she's moving home to be closer with family. Hopefully she'll be coming back real soon. And then they're still in the planning phases for their next meeting. Next slide, please. Awesome, Disabilities Caucus, they are active. They haven't had a meeting, so it's going to be determined. Stay tuned. If you want more information on all things disabilities, feel free to send an email to disabilitiescaucus@arlingtondemocrats.org. And as always, all of these caucuses are on the Arlington Democrats Facebook page. If you click on the community tab, you can find all of these caucuses and find out what they're up to. Next slide, I think there's some contact information. They're working on planning a healthcare event that's going to happen in December, January. I probably think January. And there's some email addresses if you want to get in touch with those co-chairs. So Mike and Daniel, thank you for all you're doing and will do in the next year. Next slide, please. All right, our Arlington Democrats Interfaith Outreach and Advocacy Group. Always very engaged. Thank you, Fatima and Alexander, for all that you're doing. Next meeting is going to be 12/7 at 1 p.m. And you can reach them, our Interfaith Caucus at arlingtondemocrats.org. Next slide. Like I mentioned, they have a lot going on. So we got two slides here. So first one, partnering with the Business Caucus to support small business during the holiday season, using Shop Local as a hashtag. So please use Shop Local, folks, as you're posting. Please, of course, Shop Local and take pictures and celebrate that business so that we can spread the word and amplify some of these groups. Next, they're working on mobilizing the DMV interfaith groups to support activities like letters, postcard writing, phone banks, and of course, voter registration activities in Georgia. Can head over to the next slide, please. All right, we're heading to the holidays, as you know. So in the beginning phase of organizing Hanukkah, Diwali, and Christmas interfaith celebrations for December 17th. Lots of fun activities. Stay tuned. Again, check out the Facebook page or join the meeting if you'd like more information. Yep, that's it for Interfaith. Always good stuff going on. Thank you, Fatima and Alexander, for all you're doing. All right, sorry, my camera's acting up. All right, Latino Caucus. Next slide, you can reach them, Latino Caucus at arlingtondemocrats.org. Here's just a quick recap of some of the things that they're involved in and that they want to celebrate from the past election. So all up and down Columbia Pike, they're out registering voters, they were poll greeting. And they made really, really good inroads in the Latino community. So much so, I think I mentioned it before, that many of these folks picked up the phone, and the Latino Caucus was their first point of contact. So incredible work. Relationships are really being built. Can't say enough good things about the Latino Caucus. All right, next up is, our next slide, please. Just some more celebrations. Again, celebrated, helped the mass distribution of bilingual sticky notes, and then did outreach and left thousands of notes for registered voters on doors. If you speak Spanish, we encourage you to join the Latino Caucus. If you don't speak Spanish, we encourage you to join the Latino Caucus as well. Next slide, please. All right. Okay. Yep. We are working on a phase 2 for the Juvenile Detention Center here in Arlington for Northern Virginia. So this is a 3-part series. We're on the 2nd phase, so stay tuned with the date. We're in the planning phases for that. And then, just as always, the Latino Caucus and all caucuses will continue to represent the Latino and outreach communities on behalf of the Arlington Democrats. Next slide, please. Milvets, next meeting 12/19 at 10 a.m. You can reach them, milvets@arlingtondemocrats.org, and go to the next slide, please. They are working on a food drive. This is something that they've been doing each month. So thank you, John, for your leadership on that. If you have food that you'd like to donate to Arlington Food Assistance Center, please bring it on December 12th at 10 a.m. And please wear your Democratic gear so we can get some good pictures. Of course, we'll be socially distanced and following all of the health guidelines. You can reach them, milvets@arlingtondemocrats.org. And again, they're on Facebook as well. Next slide, please. Is that women's?
Ryan. There you go.
All right, Women's Caucus. There's an X there. You might be wondering why that's there. It's just to be more inclusive, or as inclusive as we could possibly be. They are working on their next meeting, so stay tuned. You can reach them, women's@arlingtondemocrats.org. I believe that is the last slide for outreach. Jill.
All right, nicely done. Thank you, Mike. Thank you to the full outreach team. You guys are all over the place doing great work. If you are interested in joining any of those tremendous caucuses and really feeling that sense of community, please email those email addresses or check out the Facebook group pages that we have for each of the caucuses off of the main Arlington Democrats Facebook page. As always, these slides will be made available, and you can check out the information in more detail as soon as the meeting is over. So thank you so much. I'm going to keep us moving right along to the Arlington Young Democrats. And Mike, is that you too?
Yeah, that's me. No rest for the weary. I thought I was going to get a breather break, but hey, let's go. All right, next slide. We recently had our, First, we had a statewide competition for campaign outreach. And I think Arlington Democrats will be pleased to know that we placed 3rd in the entire Commonwealth. So there are only 2 groups right ahead of us. We're small, but we're mighty. Next year, we're gonna be going for that #1 spot. So next slide, we did do 600,000 voter contacts with Virginia Young Democrats. So, and we were the city county champion. So yeah, awesome job, Arlington Young Democrats. Next slide, please. All right, we had an election as well. I know we had another high profile election in November, but the Arlington Young Democrats had elected a brand new board. I'm pleased to say this is the most diverse board Arlington Young Democrats has ever had. We do have an equal number of male and female, and we have 4 people of color on the Arlington Young Democrats board. It's something that we really want to celebrate. I'm so proud of this board and the good work that's going to come. When I first joined Arlington Young Democrats, we would get comments from all kinds of other chapters about how we needed to increase our diversity. So we know it's possible. We did it here in Arlington, and we'll lead the way for the rest of the Young Democrat chapters across the great Commonwealth. So coming in, President Matt Royer, we're going to hear from him in a second. Our Vice President, Sasha Brenak, no new face to the Arlington Young Democrats. Our Secretary, Tenley O'Hara, continuing in his role is going to be Phil Catato as the Treasurer. Our campaigns director is going to be Navit Sandhu. Membership is going to be led by Annie Stiles. We have a brand new diversity and inclusion director, folks. Can you believe it? Maya Jones going to be heading up everything diversity and inclusion. Elected to political director was Adam Chaikoff, and community service director is going to be headed up by Shivani Sabu. And yours truly, I'm back. You got another year of me with the Democratic Party representative. So next slide, please. All right. In addition to our elected positions, we do have appointed positions that we need for the board. So if you are a young Democrat looking to step into a leadership role and to be on the board in every year is an important year, but next year will be a fun year. We're looking for a finance director, a publicity director, a programming director, a digital director, a recruitment director, and a retention director. So there's a website that you can go to. You can also email me or go to our Facebook, send us a message. We'd be happy to get you more information on that. Please apply by December 4th, end of day. Next slide, please. All right, to celebrate our election, we are having a holiday brunch that's going to be happening on Saturday, December 19th. So Arlington Young Democrats is open to everyone, young or young at heart. So please join us. It'll be a great time. It's also the time that we do our yearly awards. And then there'll be some special guest speakers. So really, really good times coming up Saturday, December 19th. Next slide. All right, we're gonna hear from our brand new president, Matt Royer. Before I let him take over, just a couple words about Matt. Matt's very proud to be working with you. Matt was one of the first people that welcomed me into the party when I first moved here. I served with Matt and the Arlington Young Dems on the 8th Congressional and with Virginia Young Dems. So I'm really excited, really honored to be serving with you, Matt, and I look forward to the good things that we'll accomplish together in the new year. So, Mr. President, take it away.
Wow, thanks, Mike. That was a great introduction. So hello, everybody. Some of you, like Mike had just said, already know me from my work over the past 4 years with the Young Democrats, also from the work that I've done on the HCD committee. And I'm excited to get to work here and take over the ship here for the Arlington Young Democrats. I first want to make sure that I thank my immediate predecessor, Dan Matthews, for the great work he did over the last 2 years, as well as my other predecessors who are either on this call or elsewhere tonight. I also want to thank Jill and Maggie for their commitment to partnering with our organization and making sure that young people in Arlington are not only included in the Democratic Party, but also have a seat at the table. We would not be as successful as we were over the past 4 years without all of the excellent foundation that was laid out and the support we got, not only from leadership, but from every person on this call who helped lift us up. We are one of the strongest Young Dem chapters, not only in Virginia, but in the country because of that. And I said this to the chapter on the night of our elections, but even though these past 4 years have been extremely tumultuous, chaotic at times, and even at times painful for some of our most vulnerable communities, and in particular this year being as difficult as it was, our party and our movement is stronger for it. One of the things that I think we can really be proud of here in the Commonwealth of Virginia is the participation of our young people in the political process. Mike just said, Virginia Young Democrats surpassed 600,000 voter contacts. But not only that, but Virginia was second in the country for youth voter turnout for the 2020 general election here in Arlington. We actually helped elect a Young Dem to the school board. So 2020 was a great year for Young Democrats here in Arlington and in Virginia. But I would be remiss without looking forward, if not with a realistic look. And it's not lost on us that these next 4 years, we won't have that visible enemy that we can easily point to get people fired up and get involved. Instead, we'll be working against mainly two different things, which would be apathy and complacency. I know that many people are ready to hang it up and call it a day, but I think we can always be doing more, which is why I'm setting up 3 main goals for us for this next year. The first is we actively reach out and participate in areas and organizations that we have not normally partnered with. Mike mentioned this, but one of the things I'm most proud of this year is that we elected one of our most diverse boards to date, building up upon the commitment to being a part of the big tent party that we have striven to be. But we need to make sure that our general body continues to look like that, look like the communities that we serve here in Arlington. So luckily, with our newly founded Diversity and Inclusion Director, we can reach out to and partner with organizations, particularly with our Black neighbors, our Latino neighbors, AAPI community, our Muslim and Jewish communities, with our LGBTQ folks, with those who have disabilities, and with our undocumented population here in Arlington. Second is getting more people involved in the legislative process here in Arlington, Virginia, and in Washington, D.C. Campaigns are fun and exciting, but we get the real work done sitting at the table and holding our elected officials accountable for the changes we want to see. And lastly, of course, Virginia doesn't take a year off. We are dedicated to electing 3 Democrats to the highest office in Virginia, as well as expanding our majority in the House of Delegates. We have heard from some excellent 2021 candidates tonight, and it is looking like it's going to be a very exciting primary season. But no matter who the nominees are, it is our duty as Democrats to make sure that Virginia does not go back to swing state status and we remain solidly blue. So the work is not done here. We have a lot more to do for sure. And I'm incredibly humbled to be able to continue to build upon what so many have already established here in Arlington County, and that we make sure we continue to usher in a younger generation of progressive Democrats in our county, our Commonwealth, and our country. So thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to partnering with all of you over the next year. Back to you, Jill.
Well, thank you so much. And we're really looking forward to partnering with you as well, Matt, and wanted to give a big thank you to the outgoing AYD board, which were such great partners. You were on that, as was Mike. Dan Matthews was an outstanding president who was a terrific partner to the party. And I know that you've got big shoes to fill, but that you will rise to the challenge. So we look forward to working with you next year, our most important partner in the county now and forever. We just thank you so much for everything that you have done. Moving us right along in our agenda, I want to turn to our county board update. For those of you who've not previously joined us, we are fortunate to every month hear from one of our elected officials. We alternate between county board and school board. It is a county board month, and I want to welcome our chair of the county board, newly reelected, Libby Garvey.
Hey, Jill, thank you so much. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, good. And I trust I looked all right. I can't see how I look, but I'm trusting it's okay.
Good.
All right, good. You look great too, by the way. Good lighting, I like it. Such good energy on this meeting. I mean, this is just, it's really wonderful. I'm loving all the positive energy. So first slide is a big thank you, I think. Yeah, wow. We did so much nationally. And I loved hearing about, Steve, I didn't know he was stepping down, but, congratulations. And Rose, I know you'll do a great job, but it's so clear how much we need to be thinking nationally and working locally. So thank you for all the hard work. And then one more slide, because you've got to do the local folks too. Here we are. Anyway, just a big thank you to the Arlington Democrats. It's just, you're a force to be reckoned with. And this was a year that your force is really needed. And hopefully we will take Georgia too. Boy, those Republicans keep infighting the way they have been. Maybe they'll make it a little easier for us. We can hope. All right, next slide, down to business a little bit. So I thought I just mentioned I did a ribbon cutting at Amazon HQ2. This is the first building that is their entire building. It's not a new building. They redid it. They're real excited about it. They named their buildings. I didn't realize this. And they started, this one's Aurora. I suspect the next one will start with a B. But the name of this building is Aurora. They're very excited about kind of like having a new home. And I just, I've done a lot of ribbon cutting in my almost quarter century being an elected a board member on the school board of the county board. This was a little different. So I had my own table, my own hand sanitizer. There was a little plant, I think, just to kind of look nice. And then there's the ribbon in the background. And everybody had to stand, distanced, and it was fun. Senator Warner was there, Governor Northam was there, and it was really a nice event, very small. But you can see a little bit in the background why Arlington is doing as well as it is, because the view just always is to die for. The location is incredible. It's really exciting what's going on. Amazon also announced that day, I think it was $9 million they were giving to the region and including Arlington to help out with eviction prevention, legal services, to help out with education. So I know a lot of us have issues with Amazon as a company. I'm not gonna, that is sort of a separate issue here. They are doing what they said they would and more, and they're being good neighbors, and they're being very supportive of us here during this time of COVID. So I think we're lucky to have them. So this ribbon cutting was kind of fun, and it was Senator Warner and I had kind of a good time. It was nice to see him again. Next slide. All right, so this is what I want to talk about the most, a little informational. So not so much this graph, this shows, which I think we all know, cases are going up. And I want to warn you, I've often told our staff that I'm really not sure that we ought to have that gray shaded area on the right of the graph you see. That it says incomplete data, and as the data comes in, the bars go up. So if you just look at this, you think, oh, cases are dropping off, we're going to be okay. Probably not. As the data comes in, they're going to continue to go up. Cases are continuing to increase. I think we're all concerned. It's a national trend, but certainly happening here as well. I think next week we'll be announcing 2 more testing sites just to help us try to get a handle on things. I wanted to talk just a wee bit about vaccinations because we're going to be doing a work session on Tuesday that folks might want to tune into or watch later. And that will be with our staff talking about vaccinations and vaccination planning. You probably, if you're just kind of following the news a little bit, I mean, the thing is, oh, vaccines are going to be here by December, and January, we should really be getting going, and February, we should be good to go. There are so many complications that people need to understand, and I'm kind of worried about setting people's expectations. There are the Pfizer vaccine, as many of you may know, has to be kept at minus 94 degrees, minus 94. Your freezer won't do it. If there are very special freezers that are needed, hospitals tend to have them, not many other places. We've actually ordered freezers, but of course the whole world is ordering these freezers. Hopefully we'll get them, but it has to be stored at that temperature. If you take it out, it can be refrigerated for about 5 days, but then it has to be thrown out. So you can imagine if you are taking vaccine and you want to give vaccines to an area where there's not really good refrigeration and you've only got so many. In fact, we're supposed to get the first group 70,000 doses for the state of Virginia. 70,000 won't go very far. So that's an issue. We certainly don't want to take some out of refrigeration to be used and distributed and then have to throw it out when you have a very limited number of doses. So that's one issue to deal with. Moderna vaccine, if it hasn't been, it probably will be approved very, very soon. That only has to be kept at minus 20. So that's a little easier. But they're 2 different vaccines. Both of them need 2 doses. So if you get one dose from Pfizer, you're going to need to get the next dose from Pfizer, not from Moderna. That means somebody needs to be keeping track of what vaccine you got and when. And you can trust people to sort of do it, but on a mass scale, you really want the government helping to keep track. Ideally, the federal government would be doing this. I think things will get much, much better after January 20th, but the federal government is a very weak reed right now on organization. The state has got some systems set up. Sometimes the state's been having issues as well. So there's the whole issue of keeping track of who's gotten vaccinated, what they got, and when. Then there's an issue of it gets distributed. Well, what if people decide to vaccine shop? So what if there's a different priority order? So one place it's maybe healthcare workers, maybe another place does teachers. Hopefully everybody will coordinate who's got the priority order for getting the vaccine. But we have to not only coordinate here in Virginia, we got to coordinate with a district in Maryland, particularly, right? So, and it would be easy for someone, maybe they get a vaccine, they get their first dose here, and maybe they live in Maryland or they work or they find themselves there and they end up going into getting another vaccine. Does the state of Maryland know what happened in the state of Virginia? So all I'm doing is trying to put down all of the different questions and issues, and it will all get worked out. But it's liable to be very bumpy and a little reminiscent of back in March when we were just dealing with this new virus and we didn't quite know how we were all going to cope. So all I'm trying to do is set expectations a little bit. The work session may be helpful for you. A lot of it might just simply be hearing from our staff what they know and what they think they're going to learn. But the manager was saying today, basically our information changes hourly, and that's not an exaggeration. So there's a lot more still to go with this virus. We're not going to be done in January. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and your county staff and your county board are really doing our very, very best. But I'm trying to sort of show what some of the issues are that we're dealing with, and we will do our very best to deal with those. I'm working hard to coordinate with our colleagues in the region, and our staff is doing the same, but I'm expecting it to be a little bumpy. So that's just a heads up. Everybody, for the meantime, wear the mask, stay distanced. If you're going to get together with people, stay far apart, open the windows, and continue to be careful. We've got a good number of months left to really deal with this. So thank you for letting me kind of give that little PSA, if you will. Next slide, please. Coming up, I'm doing my swearing in. This is my 8th, I think, on December 16th at 1 p.m. Love to have anybody join who would like to join. I'd like to have you there. Thank you to Caucus for having kind of been the first one to have done a virtual swearing in. So it'll be done virtually, and I would appreciate anybody attending that would like to. Next slide, please. And for next, our organizational meeting will be in January. As some may not know, actually, Jill, if you got some folks here who are fairly new, we rotate the chairmanship. So I will be done as of January 4th. We will hold our organizational meeting, and the new chair and vice chair will come on board. And after that, we will continue with our new tradition, which we've been doing for a number of years now, which is to meet with the Arlington Civic Federation. So that's going to be, we're going to hold our meeting. We will make a few remarks and speeches. Then we will meet briefly with the Civic Federation, answer some questions for them, and then they will probably go on and have their own meeting. But that's what we're going to do January 4th, after what I hope everybody has a very nice long holiday to kind of rest, but not too much, because we got to be making those phone calls and getting those postcards into Georgia. And I'm looking forward to doing that. And thanks for supporting all the support you do, Jill, for that, because I've got people asking me what to do. And now I just know, just send them right to that website and you got it for them. Thank you.
Always. Well, thank you so much for sending them our way. Thank you for leading the county board during an extraordinary year. I know it was not easy. I'm sure you are looking forward to January 4th.
I am really tired, Jill.
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
So just thank you very much for your leadership during a very difficult time. And of course, for providing us this update this month. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that moves us into our second to last agenda item, which is our upcoming events. Yes, folks, there are still events that we haven't even yet touched upon that I wanted to let you know about. So really quick, first, our Blue Community Corps, under the new leadership of Christopher Concepcion, who I think is on the line, big call out to Christopher, is out and running with their first event, which is a food drive during this month. It has been a very challenging time, as we've heard, and as we know, there are many people who are food insecure, who have never been food insecure before. If you have spare money to spend, we would encourage you to participate in the food drive, which we are doing with one of the local schools, and we're trying to help, provide groceries to folks in need. So what we've got here is there's a couple ways to participate. You could donate $30 to provide a month worth of school at the PayPal link that's noted on the slide here, or you can purchase certain high need staples that are identified on the slide and drop them off at a local Arlington Dems volunteer house anytime before December 18th, so that you can be part of our December food drive. There really is tremendous need out there, folks. So if you can spare a dime, spare a bag of sugar or what have you, we'd really appreciate it. And big shout out to Christopher Concepcion for putting together this food drive for us, so that we can definitely be there for our neighbors, which is what the Blue Community Corps' mission is all about. If for whatever reason you are, life gets ahead of you and you can't make this donation by December 18th deadline, we did want to call out that the wonderful folks at AFAC will accept food donations really any day, virtually any time. There's need all over the map in Arlington. And so if you can't, for whatever reason, participate in our December food drive, always remember that AFAC, could use your support or your funds or your groceries, what have you. So, just keep them in mind during this holiday season, which is a tough one for so many more people this year. And really just want to make sure that we're there for our community. In addition, another community member that we always want to support is the Arlington NAACP. Like AFAC, they are a nonpartisan organization, but that doesn't stop us from really sharing information about what they've got going on. They are having their virtual Freedom Fund banquet this year. It has gone virtual. It will be held via Zoom. Everyone in the community is welcome to attend with a suggested donation to them of $25. Should be a great event. More information is available at that Zoom link that's listed there, or on their Arlington branch NAACP's Facebook page. So check it out, join the event, should be a good time. In addition, we will be hosting our traditional New Year's Day party. It's usually a potluck. We can't do that this year because all of our events are virtual for the time being. So we are hosting it virtually. Zoom link to follow, but that will be posted on our Facebook event page, as well as our online calendar, arlingtondemocrats.org/calendar. And we encourage you to join on New Year's Day. Maybe take some takeout or delivery from a local restaurant that could certainly use your patronage, and just, commune with Democrats during the holiday season on New Year's Day. So I want to thank our membership director, Izzy Taveras, for putting together this event, and we look forward to seeing everybody there. And I think that brings us to the last portion of our event, which is our holiday party. We want to open up the meeting to just chit chat. And while we're doing that, Maggie and Izzy have put together a great slideshow of different volunteer picks from throughout the year. And we're going to try to make this as similar to our normal in-person holiday potluck as we can. Grab your favorite dessert, grab a drink, what have you, and just stick around for a few minutes and chat with your Democratic neighbors, maybe pick up that conversation from the start of the meeting. So before we turn over to that, I'm going to sign us off from sort of the official portion of the meeting. Thank everyone, as always, for everything that you do in support of Democrats. It absolutely makes a difference. We saw this past year, there were a number of very tight races across the country. Arlington Democrats were there with our Beyond Arlington program. Arlington Democrats helped to deliver Virginia for President-elect Biden and our very first Madam Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. I couldn't be more excited to see what happens under this administration. I'm super excited also to see what we're able to accomplish leading the way in Virginia with our important 2021 elections, as well as just advancing important policy priorities in Arlington, in Virginia, and across the country. Thank you to everyone for everything that you did. And I'm so looking forward to working with this group into the future. So thanks for joining our meeting. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to turn things over to our wonderful Deputy Chair, Maggie Davis, and our wonderful Membership Director, Izzy Taveras, to host our holiday party. Maggie?